Here's Johnny.
I'll be back.
And you will know my name is the Lord.
I'm walking here. I'm walking here.
I'm sorry, Dave. I'm afraid I can't do that.
Groovy.
I watched one zombie movie in preparation for this.
What zombie movie?
Zombie, or Zombie 2.
Oh, okay, yeah. That one was not as good as I was hoping.
No, it's...
You see the trailers with the zombie fighting a shark, and you imagine the whole universe is in your hands.
It's a Fulci movie. It's a drive-in zombie movie.
Yeah.
It's fun. I'd like to see it remade, actually. I think it'd be pretty cool if you took that story and try to expand it some. More pointless nudity.
Yes.
Hey, Italian movies.
Is MB back yet?
Oh,
Did he
MB's
leave?
still gone.
I don't hear him. Oh, I also watched One of the Dead.
Oh.
It has one of the worst dubs I've heard in a long time.
You watched the dub?
I honestly had so much I needed to do today, I just threw it on, and the dubbing started, and I was like, fuck it, I can't read. I don't have the time to read this.
That was the actual movie.
Once you get into the mode of it, and actually I threw the subtitles on over top of the dub. So I could listen to it and every once in a while read the screen, and the subtitles are much better. Oddly, they're saying similar things, but not the same. It's one of the most relaxed zombie films I think I've ever seen.
It's very relaxed.
It's incredibly relaxed. It's basically Shaun of the Dead if they removed all tension.
It's I love One of the Dead, but it's kind of funny how you forget that it's a zombie movie when the zombies show up.
They don't even fucking care. They're like, zombies.
Well, first they think they're vampires.
That's true. They go through everything, like possessed.
Fucking exorcism.
Yeah.
That they attempt.
Get the fuck out of him. It's not a real prayer. I don't know any prayers.
The thing about zombie, why were the Spanish conquistadors still, had flesh and shit on them? They rose from the grave. It didn't make sense to me.
Nah.
I do appreciate zombies' attempt at combining the voodoo folklore with animated corpses. When's it really done that again?
I've always wanted to see somebody try another voodoo zombie movie.
How confused do you think people would be?
Why am I watching a remake of The Serpent and the Rainbow? I just don't get it.
It's fascinating to think that before George Romero, zombie movies were voodoo movies.
Hey, shut up. You're wasting quality.
I know. I realized that as soon as I
stuff.
read that sentence.
This episode is just going to be like an hour of us just, is MB back yet? Zombies.
Is MB back yet?
Zombie.
No? Okay. Wait, start talking about Batman.
Batman? Batarangs?
It worked! It worked!
Have you been waiting in a shadow somewhere until someone said the magic words?
Actually, I literally just got back on as you were saying that. And I was about to say something, but then you were going into this whole... Quick, we should use code words.
Batman's your activator word. You transform Marvel.
You might actually have to put that into the episode.
Before we let James continue on his epic zombie film monologue, Cody, introduce us.
Hello, and welcome to Box Office Pulp, or as we like to call it, the BOP of the Dead. For this special, hopefully airing in time for Halloween episode, join me, your host, Cody Flexo Elft, my friend MB, my... Oh, Jesus, someone shoot him now. God, shoot him. He just had something in his throat.
You shot a black man!
I didn't want him in the episode, okay? He had something in his throat, and it was annoying. Oh, he's fucking alive. Anyways, moving on. My other friend, James Lewis.
Send more podcasters.
And this guy who simply showed up, Mr. Mike Napier.
I'm scored by Goblin.
Man, your life is... I'm so jealous right now. I can't even express it in words.
I'm not actually scored by Goblin. That was a
Well,
joke.
then get the fuck off my show.
No way to ruin the ending.
We can't use the gonk now? I'm sorry. God, such a...
We have to save the gonk.
It's
I think that,
knife.
I was going to say that should be a good rule of thumb. Like, you have a good zombie film if you can work in the gonk, but I can only think of like 2 zombie films that use it.
And one of them invented the gonk.
That's very true. So, anyways, we're here to talk about zombies. James, I believe you already had a point rolling about zombies that we're going to jump into halfway through.
Mike had brought up a zombie movie he had recently seen where they had brought in voodoo mythology and combined it with zombie lore. And I was pointing out how it's funny to think that before George Romero came along and wrote the rules for movie zombies with Night of the Living Dead, that the zombie genre was just voodoo movies.
Yeah, you had your white zombie. Other zombie films I can't think of.
Yeah,
I Walked with a Zombie.
I was a teenage zombie.
Zombie, 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 zombie.
All of those. No, I kind of think we're in like a zombie cycle. So we originally had your voodoo zombie, and every once in a while you get another reappearance of those, like Zombie or The Serpent in the Rainbow. It is kind of rare. Then we had the Romero zombie, which is still popular with The Walking Dead and whatnot. But we're kind of seeing more and more running zombie films, which is the next wave. And I think eventually those are going to kind of supplant the shambling walking zombie. And then who knows what's going to come after, like, the infected running zombie. I'm hoping...
zombie.
Ah, you beat me to it. I was actually going to say laser zombies, but I like space zombies more.
What would laser zombies be?
They'd be zombies that can't stop shooting lasers. Out of their mouth and eyes. Oh! Send more refracted light.
We kill them with rainbows.
Oh man, getting attacked by a laser zombie would be the worst. It would just smell like burning hair everywhere.
Can you imagine how horrifying that would be? You turn a corner and just see people with glowing mouths and eyes shooting
he's
things.
Back, and he's shooting lasers out of his face. I would be horrified.
He's running towards you, wanting to eat your flesh after he cooks it.
You're like a legion of underpowered supermen.
The flesh numbs the pain of the lasers.
Oh god, that's what happened to Cyclops in Marvel Zombies, isn't it?
Yeah, there's another type of zombie, the Marvel zombie.
The Marvel zombie. I guess breaking it down in 3 ways is probably simplifying it a little too much. But fuck it, I'm going to go with it. I said it, I'll stand by it. I mean, there are some people out there that count like the monsters in Evil Dead as zombies. No.
I would say
possessed.
archetypally they are zombies, but no, technically not zombies.
That's
in the same
fun,
way
that's-
that Mr. Hyde is a werewolf.
Yeah, he transforms, but no. Yeah, it doesn't really...
I mean,
it doesn't fit.
Couldn't you break it down more like, there's the voodoo zombies, the undead zombies, and then there's the just
Rage
a person.
zombies.
Yeah, just the person that's infected.
I think that's pretty fair.
Yeah, because we do have a surgence of it being a virus and not really being something that's...
Reanimates the dead. And
Yeah.
We're not bringing science into this.
I'm thinking like the World War Z 28 Days Later kind of zombie versus Walking Dead zombie.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, since we have this topic here, what is your zombie of choice?
I would have to say it's Romero zombie for me, just because.
Smart Romero zombie or dumb Romero zombies? You want to get eaten by Bub, or are you going with like the legions of no-name zombies?
I don't know.
I want to get eaten by Bub because that.
You with an existential motherfucker.
I would like to get eaten by a zombie who would appreciate it.
Who would, know he's getting something good.
Yeah. Like, you know what? You tasted good. Then he puts on, his headphones and dances off.
Remember Big Daddy from Land of the Dead? I feel like if he killed and ate me, it would be for a purpose, more so than just food. So it would be... Yeah, exactly. It'd be fulfilling, at least for him. And I would know I had my comeuppance.
I like revenge zombies.
I would like to be killed by a zombie that had his own cheerleader, Harley Quinn.
Revenge
The Dead was a weird movie.
I rewatched Land of the Dead not too long ago, a couple days, and I still really like it. I know it's kind of a black sheep from the Romero fan clubs, but no, I love it. It's great.
That movie gets a lot of shit, but if you watch it as pretty much just a comedy, it totally works.
It's funny. It's definitely a parody of a lot of things, and it's Romero's normal social commentary. And I think people forget the fact that Dawn of the Dead was also silly as shit.
Yeah, that was essentially a comedy in a lot of ways.
Yeah, like as the zombies invade them all, one guy, even though he's surrounded by zombies, sticks his arm in a blood pressure test. You know, like, what could go wrong here? And then he's ripped apart by zombies.
Because those things are just irresistible.
He couldn't stop himself. Poor sombrero man.
I would say that Dawn of the Dead and Land of the Dead are two very different satires.
Yeah.
Dawn of the Dead, as silly as it is still kind of subtle. Or you could watch that and not quite get on the first viewing that you're watching a satire of something. Whereas Land of the Dead is just absolute Looney Tunes. Like, there's a midget crime lord. Dennis Hopper is evil Donald Trump. Eviler zombie Donald Trump.
I do like the fact, though, that they go in some cool directions with the zombie apocalypse. It's not just like a bunch of people living in ramshackle hovels. It's like they have a semblance of a city worked out, and there's a class structure that's in place. Like, humanity's got their shit together after the zombie attacks and kind of figured out a system.
Yeah, that movie is the most realistic take on a zombie apocalypse I've ever seen.
They get zombies and they spray paint them and have cockfights.
I was always fascinated by Romero's insistence that none of his movies are connected, but, okay, here's totally a reference to Night of the Living Dead, but they're not connected.
These aren't connected. Oh, look, here's the machete zombie. Remember him? Yeah, he's back.
Yeah, he literally does that. In the commentary, it was like, okay, here's the radio from Night of the Living Dead, but these movies aren't connected. But they're connected in this one scene.
Yeah, just randomly.
Like,
I take it back. The only one he did that for, where they were direct continuations, were Diary and Survival of the Dead. And those are terrible, so he needs to go back to his previous plan of not connecting them.
Well, you do see stuff from Night of the Living Dead in the beginning of Dawn of the Dead.
Yeah. Like, you could say they were connected. I mean, I don't think anyone would stop you, really.
You just have to take away that Romero is insane, and then just to say that.
He lost his mind after Bruiser.
I think he lost his mind after he got the ability to film in color. Because you go Night of the Living Dead, which is a fairly serious, like, people locked in a house movie, to Dawn of the Dead, which has the zombies, or the goblin score, all the other weird shits going on. The blood is, like, bright cartoon pink.
Dawn is such an EC comic come to life.
Like,
It definitely is.
Blue.
Yeah, the zombie makeup is just like, these people are a little kind of gray. They're not really made up as rotting people.
Then you get Day of the Dead, which is just an explosion of blood.
He went so far with the gore, I love it. Okay, I need the zombie to roll over and have all of his guts fall out of his ribcage and land on the floor. Can you do that? Can you do that? Great.
You know, I've never actually seen Day of the Dead. How does that stack up with the other movies in the trilogy?
If I had to pick my favorite, it would not be Day of the Dead.
I don't think it's anybody's favorite. It was the Land of the Dead before Land of the Dead.
Yeah, when it came out, I don't think people respected it, and it's kind of got some appreciation after the fact. And I don't know. One, I hate the score. Like, the score just sounds terrible. But it's got some good moments. The gore, the zombie effects are all really top notch. They did some very cool stuff.
They said Tom Savini doing the effects for that one, didn't they?
Was that Tom or was that Greg Nicotero?
I think Nicotero took over for Dave.
Yeah, and he did a hell of a job.
Yeah.
So
I think I like Dawn a bit better, but I would put Day for me like right after Dawn. I love Day.
I mean, I don't really have huge issues with it. There's little things that kind of date it. It's nice that he actually has a strong woman for once in one of his films.
Yeah.
So that's cool.
It takes the apocalypse.
I like how progressive he was with certain things, like we're gonna have a strong black guy for the first two movies, but his women characters were pretty much shit until he got to Day of the Dead.
Well, he has said ever since Night of the Living Dead, he's just been trying to apologize for Barbara.
Yeah, I can see that for sure. Plus, Day of the Dead has like one of my favorite jumps in the entire series.
The hands to the wall?
The hands through the wall. Man, that makes me jump a little bit every time I watch it, even though I know it's coming. I love it.
I like how surreal Day of the Dead got in some places.
And how random some of the actions were. Like the guy who has his arm cut off so it doesn't spread the infection, who then decides, fuck it, I'm going to let in all the zombies. So we don't know if he's actually infected or not, but he just lets the zombies eat him anyways.
That's the origin of the governor.
Bonkers third act, too.
Oh, yeah. Plus, this is the introduction of, like, really smart zombies, which Romero is kind of brought up every once in a while through the rest of the series.
Which again he mentions in Land of the Dead, where he's like, okay, Big Daddy is the natural evolution of the zombies in Day of the Dead, but the movies aren't connected. No, I think he says that exact sentence.
He's also weirdly gone back on the idea of zombies evolving to get smarter. He's like, no, they're just still stupid.
I have to admit, I don't think Romero really puts that much thought into this. I think he just makes it up movie per movie.
I could see that. And at first I think his idea was, okay, zombies are all messed up. They're more or less all social commentary, so the zombie isn't a zombie. It's, some value in society that's fucked up. So it wouldn't make sense for it to get smarter. And yet he still did that in, like, 2 of the movies anyways.
I'd say you could maybe make the argument that Land of the Dead is kind of a metaphor for terrorism.
Oh, yeah. I mean, definitely.
Especially with the ending of them just going, let's just leave them the fuck alone.
Really true. I always thought it was interesting, like, at least for the first 4 movies in the Of the Dead series, he always had that continuing theme of, okay, these survivors lock themselves in some sort of barricade, and turns out that's a really bad choice. Like, that's pretty much the plot of Night of the Living Dead. Oh, sitting in the farmhouse? Not a great plan. Dawn of the Dead? Oh, sitting in the mall? Not a great plan. Day of the Dead? Oh, this underground bunker? We shouldn't have been here. Land of the Dead? Oh, hey, we're in this fenced-off city? God damn it, why didn't that work? Like, he goes so far as to actually, like, have a close-up of a bird in a cage in Land of the Dead. Just so you get the idea. And have all the characters talk about going to Canada, in the wide open.
Well, he's just waiting for the final movie, Sky of the Dead.
He's running out of the Deads. Like,
with Zeppelin zombies.
He already did Diary. I was wondering what was going to come after Land, because he already did, Night, Dawn, and Day. Dusk of the Dead?
What about Sea of the Dead?
Sea of the Dead.
Space of the Dead.
Space
zombies.
I'd watch it.
What was the fan title? Twilight of the Dead?
Yeah, there was some knockoff like that. I think they also did, like, Flight of the Dead, or something dumb like that, where they were on an airplane.
They should do it at the center of the Earth.
Yes, Mole Men of the Dead.
Molten zombies.
That would be amazing. On one side we have mole men, on one side we have zombies. What do we do?
Whoever wins, we lose.
Whoever wins, we die.
And then, molten god creature.
And we finally get the origin of the zombies.
I think let's forget about zombies for a moment. Mole Men need to come back.
That's true. They have not had their moment in the sun. See what I did there?
Like, I want a found footage Mole Man movie.
Speaking of found footage, I had this idea the other day. So, there's the Pyramid coming out about found footage mummy. And we already have...
We predicted that, I want to say.
We did. I want to keep going with that, though. So there's Frankenstein's Army, which is a found footage Frankenstein movie. Why aren't there more found footage? Like, they could have the whole Universal Monster stable in found footage.
Why is there no found footage Dracula?
Like, really, do we have a found footage vampire movie that's halfway decent, or has got a Dracula? Is there one for, like, a Gillman or some sort of, water monster?
I'm sure there have been there's been at least one vampire found footage, but I don't think it's been good enough to warrant.
I want to see a found footage remake of Dracula, where Dracula's the one holding the camera. You get to turn into a plume of smoke along with Dracula. You get to see him turning into a wolf as he sees
the wolf strapped to the wolf.
That's the sequel to Dracula Untold. Dracula Told.
You could totally tell a found footage Phantom of the Opera movie really easily too.
I'm telling you, man, it'd be amazing. I would love, even if they're not actually, all together, I would love a big monster rally film, found footage style, with all the monsters.
Well, it'd be kind of amazing if they did a found footage Frankenstein movie where Dr. Frankenstein implants a camera into the creature to study its behaviors.
That could be really interesting, yeah.
Yeah, and then you just see him going about and committing all those horrific murders.
Or even like the experiments on the monster, you could have some pretty awesome stuff with that.
Yeah.
First person messing with people's bodies.
We get to have cameraman Igor.
Yes. Where
Come on,
Igor
Universal.
put Boom Mike?
Yes.
But if you did that, he would just have to have the camera on his hump.
Exactly.
Okay, I'm
Where's
just going
my
to throw this
Igor
out.
movie?
What if, aren't they working on that with like Daniel Radcliffe?
Max Landis is, yeah.
Yeah. When is that coming out? That's been in production forever, I feel like.
I think anything starring Radcliffe has to get delayed for about 8 years.
You're probably right.
Until he becomes even sexier.
But just imagine this. Abbott and Costello meet Frankenstein as a first-person movie. And I mean, since we don't have Abbott and Costello anymore, just replace him with, like, Nick Frost and Simon Pegg.
Way to reach.
Seth Rogen and James Franco.
I would love that, too.
Yes.
Just playing their characters from Pineapple Express, meeting monsters.
And it's all found footage. I would love it. I would give so much money to that movie.
Really, there need to be more found footage monster comedies.
There aren't enough? I agree.
Speaking of found footage, we have gotten found footage zombie movies.
Diary of the Dead.
Hey, Quarantine.
Quarantine, yeah. Although, technically, it is, spoilers for anyone who's not familiar with Wreck or Quarantine. I guess, I don't know, Quarantine.
Quarantine, they're zombies. Quarantine,
yeah.
Zombies.
In Wreck, it's revealed they're actually just possessed people that behave exactly like zombies.
They're like a demon hive mind.
Yeah. Did anyone ever catch Quarantine 2?
No.
No one has.
No one?
No one in the world.
I don't feel bad then.
Yeah, the Wreck franchise looks amazing.
It is.
Yeah,
I've always actually been curious about Wreck. Like, what is your... I mean, how do you guys feel about the first movie? I've never seen it.
Have you seen Quarantine?
No.
Okay, I was going to say they're essentially the exact same thing.
Yeah, they're almost shot for shot. Wreck is awesome.
Wreck is fantastic. Wreck 2 kind of goes in a different direction, but it's still enjoyable.
Yeah, I would say it's still really good. Wreck 3 is a completely different kind of film.
Like, they stop doing found footage halfway through, they go, oh man, this is dumb, why are we recording this? And then it turns into a normal movie.
Yeah, and it's mainly a comedy.
It is, yeah.
And it has a chick in a wedding dress beating the shit out of zombie demons.
That's true.
Pretty amazing.
I haven't seen any of those movies, but like I said, they always seemed amazing.
Yeah,
They're worth checking out.
Yeah, and Wreck 4 I don't think is found footage at all, so...
No, I'm not sure what they're doing with that. It's like Rec 4 Genesis, or I think
no, Rec. I think it was.
Was 3 Genesis?
I think the 3 was Genesis. I think 4 is Apocalypse.
Oh, you're right. But didn't they do 4 and 5 back to back or something?
I don't remember. I know the trailer for 4 just came out not that long ago.
Yeah. Okay. Rec 4 is Apocalypse. That's coming out sometime this year, apparently.
And I guess they're just pretending 3 never happened. Like 3 was just a fun side experiment that they did for the fuck of it.
Well, technically that one was a prequel, so.
It takes place the same time as the first movie's taking place.
Okay.
Like, it kind of like right before and then some during. Like you see near the end of the movie the news footage.
Yeah. Well, that's one of the things. The Wreck timeline is all fucked up because don't like 1 and 2 basically happen like concurrently?
Same night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would definitely recommend them if they're on Netflix or something. Give them a shot.
Yeah, there's one found footage concept that we've only seen once that I can't believe no one's ever thought of expanding to a full movie, and that was the segment in VHS 2, which we talked about in the
GoPro
podcast.
zombie.
Why has nobody ever done a found footage movie from the zombies' point of view? It's so
I don't know, yeah. It works so well in VHS 2, and it's one of those, head slap moments like, oh, duh, why can't anyone else do this? Found footage zombies. It's perfect for it. Come on. Kind of like Nazi zombies. I'm surprised we don't have just thousands of those. We've got a decent number now, but not thousands of them.
Speaking of, how was Dead Snow?
Dead Snow, as always, heartwarming. Just such a great film. I haven't seen 2 yet, but I'm excited for it.
I still haven't seen 1, but I look forward to watching it.
Oh, you haven't seen Dead Snow 1?
No, I haven't yet.
You need to rectify that ASAP. It's really funny. The zombie effects are pretty damn good, considering it's a low-budget foreign film. The whole thing is primo.
I mean, it's Nazi zombies. Where can you go wrong?
Nazi zombies. And I enjoy the concept, too, because it's not like a disease zombie like we normally get. These are Nazi zombies brought back from the grave because of some of the gold they stole has been disturbed. So their stolen Jewish gold has been tampered with, and they're not going to take it. So they're kind of magic zombies.
Magic zombies, that's something untapped.
Magic Nazi zombies.
Zombie sorcerers. See, that's the great thing about zombies, is you can just add it to any other genre, and you're just printing money there.
Zombie superhero.
Marvel zombies, yeah.
No. I literally mean like a zombie puts on a mask and a cape and fights crime.
Would he fight crime or just devour it? Now I'm thinking Biocop. It'd just be a zombie who just really wants to die. Kill me.
I've seen zombies added to vampire fiction. The idea of ghouls or non-virgins bitten by a vampire.
Well, I've also seen versions of Dracula where he just has zombies as henchmen.
Yeah. I remember years ago I read a book set in like the Universal monster movie canon where right after Abbott and Costello, it basically continues from that point on. Like, it explains what happens to the Wolfman, what happens to Dracula, and, you know, all the other characters. And then it jumps forward to, like, the present day, where they have to go back to Dracula's island, where he's got a bunch of zombie voodoo slaves just working for him.
Please tell me it's called Escape from Dracula Island.
Oh, no, I wish. I can't actually remember the title, but I remember really liking it as a kid.
I find it hilarious that in White Zombie, Bela Lugosi has an island filled with voodoo zombies.
Same universe.
Ever seen White Zombie?
Oh, yeah.
Good movie.
It's enjoyable. Pretty good sound design considering it's such an early film.
Some very nice shots in that film.
We've talked a lot about the Romero-style zombie, but there are two other classifications of zombies that we haven't gone into.
Well, I was going to say, I'm surprised you guys didn't like immediately make this about Return of the Living Dead. Because I just assumed that's all you guys talked about when I was gone.
That's what we talk about whenever you're not around, yes.
That's exactly what I figured.
They've talked about it so much, they don't even want to talk about it anymore.
I don't want to put this on air. I can't live with it anymore.
Well, if you weren't here, sure.
I'll go leave the room and you guys have your conversation.
You know the story. You want a party, it's party time. But, what do you guys think of the recent trend in the past few years of infected/rage/fast zombies? We see in movies like 28 Days Later and some other movie.
Speaking as someone who is not really heavily into the zombie genre, like, I've never actually seen 80% of the movies you guys have mentioned.
It's okay, I haven't either.
Swear.
But just speaking as purely from an outsider standpoint, my classification of what a zombie is in the purely technical standpoint has always been just the undead version. So for me, it almost doesn't feel like the infected version is really a zombie, much less its own character and creature, where it's like, it's basically taking on the form of humanity getting an insano virus.
And I can see the validity of that, because one of the main things you always think about, at least with Romero zombies, is they're going to kill you to eat you. Whereas with the Danny Boyle zombies, they pretty much just want to crack your skull open and then leave it at that. They don't want to eat you.
Yeah, and they also have this whole thing where they just kind of want to spread the disease, whereas I don't think that's ever the intention of the Romero zombie, which is just, it lives to feed. It's
right.
Humans are not, their brothers, they're their food supply.
And that is a good point, because I look at a movie like The Crazies, and I definitely wouldn't call that a zombie film, but it's more or less the exact same thing as what you get in 28 Days Later. It's infected people that are just looking around to beat the shit out of everyone else around them and act crazy.
Yeah. It's more like a pathologen type of terrorist attack almost. Like it's kind of more of like a chemical warfare fallout type of thing where suddenly something's in the air and it's turning everyone. It's almost like its own subgenre in a weird way. Even though it's definitely played to where it's supposed to be part of the zombie genre, it feels different to me. It always feels different.
But then you have something like World War Z, which is definitely playing itself as a zombie film. But again, you've just got zombies that want to spread the infection. Like, they're not stopping to eat people, they're just running as fast as they can to spread infection.
Even like a video game like Left 4 Dead, which is about the infected. I mean, it is about the infected type of zombie, and it still goes out of its way to create other types of monsters that aren't, strictly speaking, zombie-like. Like, it goes out of its way to create sub-monsters who are kind of zombie-like, but they have their own special abilities and special powers. So it's like, it kind of gives you license to deviate from the zombie formula a little bit.
And actually, I think that's probably been a really great thing for the genre. Just because they can experiment, they can try new things, and they're infected. They're not necessarily zombies, whatever. We can bend the rules. We can try something new. Whereas if you look at something like a vampire film, they've tried some different things with vampires. I don't want to say they're all the same, but you do get a fair amount of repetition because there's certain parts of the lore that people just don't really mess with.
Yeah, and there's also just the problem of, with vampires, it's a set of rules where they're already good ideas, and most of the ideas that have come since that have tried to expand upon it aren't as good. So trying to reinvent vampires is almost like a task unto of itself. Whereas with zombies, it's a much more simplistic concept, so I think it lends itself more to reinterpretation, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is why I find it strange that people get so political about types of zombies.
That's not a goddamn zombie film, damn it. Those are infected.
Who fucking cares, for one thing?
It's very true.
And another, do you remember any zombie movies around the time 28 Days Later came out? No, because the entire genre was dead in the water until that movie breathed new life into it.
Very true, yeah. I can't think of anything else even close to that. Like, there was Land of the Dead, and I think there was just a giant dry spell until 28 Days Later.
I think it was just mainly due to the fact that it was just Romero, and everybody who tried to do a zombie movie was just aping Romero by that point. It had just been kind of gotten stale because nobody thought to do anything different. It was one of those things that if you did a zombie movie, you were just doing Romero's creature or character, and nobody ever thought beyond the box.
Yeah, it got to a point where, like, the only new zombie movies that were coming out were remakes of Night of the Living Dead.
I stand by the remake of Night of the Living Dead. They did a pretty good job with that one. Although they didn't really do anything too crazy different from the original.
It's interesting.
I'm gonna say this now. I'm not actually a giant fan of Night of the Living Dead. I respect it for what it did to the horror community and how it changed so many things in horror cinema, but trying to watch it is very difficult for me because it's just there's something about the pacing.
Yeah, I like Night of the Living Dead, but I'm never gonna go out of my way to watch Night of the Living Dead.
Yeah. Whereas like Dawn of the Dead, I get excited when I put that on. I'm like, I haven't seen this in forever. Or Land of the Dead, I thoroughly enjoy watching. Same with Day.
Night is just it's fun when you're with other people.
It's a cool movie to show people for the very first time, just because of how unusual it is even by today's standards.
And you don't expect a black and white movie to be, I guess that, I don't want to say modern with the gore, because there's not a ton of gore, but it's more shocking than you would expect for something made in that time period.
Yeah, I think it's because it's shot in black and white solely because that was cheaper.
Yeah.
It makes it feel like it's a way older movie than it actually is.
Mm-hmm.
They seem to consciously make it more 50s than it actually was.
Yeah, what year was Night of the Living Dead made?
It's like 65, maybe?
I think so. Something like
There's
that.
actually a pretty big gap between Night of the Living Dead and Dawn of the Dead. So
Yeah.
To the internet.
I think 65 sounds about right.
68.
Oh, wow.
1968.
Yeah, the movie feels like it takes place in 1955.
Well, all the timelines have been kind of hard to place for the of the Dead films. I guess, well, Dawn of the Dead seems weird because that was like when malls were a new thing, which seems like such a strange concept to me considering malls have always been around.
You were born in a mall.
I was born in a mall, Fountain.
I'm still sad we never got a 90s Romero movie.
God, do you imagine Romero's take on the 90s? Just fucking sweat band zombies as far as the eye can see.
There would be a live-action version of Skeeter.
Like, he may not have done a zombie movie in the 90s, but he had to have directed something, right?
Yeah, he did some stuff.
Okay, I was going to say, like, no way, he had to have... Oh, pretty much nothing in the 90s, you're right, okay.
I thought Bruiser came out in the 90s. That was 99.
Bruiser was 2000.
Well, he shot in the 1999, so...
Okay, he in 1990, in the 90s, he directed two films, Two Evil Eyes, and that was just a segment, and The Dark Half.
Oh, yeah, The Dark Half was him.
Everybody forgets about the dark half. But going back to Night of the Living Dead, one of the things that's always fascinated me about that movie, and I think even more so than, the gore or the fact that it was the first appearance of zombies as we know them, I think one of the big reasons that movie is such an oddity and kind of set the tone for not just zombies but horror movies in general after that is that it's a movie where every character is wrong.
Yeah. Even your hero is completely wrong.
Like, there's not really a good guy in it. Like, you have Ben, who's this gentle, intelligent man, and one of the first things you see him do is slap a woman in the face because he doesn't know how to deal with her.
To be fair, wouldn't all of us have slapped Barbara?
She was so hysterical, something needed to be done.
She also recaps the first 20 minutes of the movie when she reappears.
And, like, the big conflict of the movie is them arguing over whether to go to the basement or stay upstairs, where it never really occurs to anybody to just stay upstairs until they have to go to the basement because they're too busy pounding their chests and trying to be the alpha males.
You do one or the other.
Then the asshole of the movie ends up being the only one who was right about things. And even that isn't completely right.
But it's still one of those things like, oh, if only this guy wasn't such a prick, we probably would have listened to him and maybe not have all died. Damn it.
So that's not really a thing that was something you were like just starting to see in 1960s cinema. Just the idea that, actually sometimes there are no right answers and the loud people aren't the ones who should be doing the thinking.
There was all sorts of stuff that movie did that was really interesting. Like, they made a black guy the main hero, and he was really likable, like, a great character, and then he's killed by the good old boys in the end for absolutely no reason.
Which is completely accidental.
Yeah.
It's like the reason Ben's written the way he was is because they just wrote it for a white dude. The movie was accidentally progressive.
Damn it, we stumbled into being cool.
Which is very interesting. I was watching the Birth of the Living Dead documentary. That's on Netflix a few weeks back, which is very good. And they talked to Romero about it, and he's talking about how much he regrets not talking about race in that movie, and how that was such a missed opportunity. Oh, all the things they could have said about race if only they'd thought about it. Which is crazy because the thing that
the
makes
same
that movie
opportunity
great
in Dawn of the Dead.
The thing that's crazy about that is what makes that movie so subversive is the fact that nobody talks about the fact that the black dude is the main character and that he's leading the group.
Yeah.
Like, it's like the modern equivalent of having a gay character who's just gay and it never comes up.
Like Paranorman, sticking with our zombie theme.
Yeah, just making something normal and not the focus of the movie is more silently subversive than making it, pretext.
Yeah, accepting something as the norm is actually way more progressive than bringing it up as an issue. It's always better to just cut to the end of the issue where everybody agrees on something and then that's just made canon.
Yeah, you don't have a scene with somebody going, well, Ben, I know you're a black man, but you're all right by me.
Yeah, Roy.
That's what makes that movie feel so like it belongs to no particular time period.
That one strange year in American cinema where racism didn't exist.
That one glorious year.
It wasn't even that, it was more of a blip.
And then it never
the time that racism forgot.
One thing I really like every time I do watch Night, though, is I miss the kind of simplicity of that plot, which is just...
There is none.
Well, yeah, but it just being held up in that farmhouse with just darkness outside and just trying to survive as there's just things out in the shadows you can't see, can arrive at any moment. Like, I kind of miss that kind of movie and idea.
Yeah, it was always the main appeal of zombies. Not that they were something to be used in an action scene, but just that they were a force of nature.
Yeah.
Like, there was just more and more and more and more of them. Like, an individual zombie wasn't any kind of a threat, but it was their strength in numbers and the fact that they were coming no matter what that made them terrifying.
It was one of those deals where to defeat zombies, you actually had to use, like, planning and foresight.
Yeah.
Because, you could just stand there and kill one or two, but then, 30 more of them would pop up. So if you just kept there sitting where you were slapping at them, eventually you'd be overwhelmed. Whereas you realize, maybe if I took over the Walmart and then put snipers on the roof.
That's a great plan.
I've never read World War Z. But I know that's a big portion of the book, which is just the zombies winning essentially by attrition. There's a lot of battles that just humans are doing just fine, but just by sheer onslaught of the zombies just continuing to come, they end up winning every battle.
Yeah. This brings me back to something I think we all have buried deep in our emergency planners. Do you guys have your ideal zombie contingency plan set up? Anyone?
Kill myself.
Yes.
Not enough people give that as an answer, but it's probably the best way out.
What's the point?
In normal life or in zombie life?
Oh, we're just talking zombies. The other life thing is another conversation.
Ah, okay.
Well, my plan for zombies and life is the same. Space.
Space. Zombies can't get you when you're in space.
Unless they're space zombies, but in which case I have a plan within a plan.
That would be fucking awesome, though, if you went up to the space station, and they're like, we're finally safe from the zombies, and suddenly, in the distance, coming from Earth, a rocket is coming up towards the space station, being piloted by zombies in spacesuits. It's like an old decaying...
more astronauts.
It's like an old decaying one.
You said there is a short story in Nightmares and Dreamscapes where Stephen King writes astronaut zombies.
Because Stephen King just does everything.
He's written enough now where he probably has written every sort of monster 2 times over.
That was the same short story collection that had a killer pair of chattering teeth. And a vampire with a pilot's license.
I'm surprised he's not the guy that came up with the idea to make a film about a killer tire.
We really need to do an episode on the Night Flyer.
And rubber.
Oh, yeah.
But going into my zombie apocalypse plan, essentially, I want to, in this life, before the zombie apocalypse happens, get over my fear of flying, so that what I do is I get on an airplane, I have a living pilot with me, and I just spend all my time in the air. And then whenever we have to fuel up, we just land at a gas station. He grabs a machine gun. He fires off while I fuel the plane. Then we take off, and that's another fine mess, you know.
What kind of fuel does an airplane use? You can't just stop at a gas station and fill it up with normal unleaded.
Yes, you can.
This is totally a world where there's just gas stations for airplanes.
All right.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about personal planes. For all I know, you can just go up and fill them up with diesel, and you're fine.
Well, you have to stop at technically an airport and do that. But
MB would be the Night Flyer.
What if you tried to land for gasoline, and after the zombie apocalypse, the world had turned into Mad Max?
Well,
and you try and get that gasoline, and no, people aren't going to put up with that. You got Lord Fungus coming after you.
Well, then I would go and find the nearest cave and live out the rest of my days becoming Batman.
Zombie Batman.
Fulfilling my life's dream before I'm taken out. Because I expect the zombies to come after me in the cave.
And I do love in Romero zombie films, there are so many zombies just dressed up. Like, oh, it's a clown zombie, it's a football player zombie, it's a cheerleader zombie. MB, you would totally be dressed up as Batman when you got... Like, you would get bitten and you would know, this is my last chance.
I am becoming Blackest Night Batman.
Forever.
How fucked up would it be if you went to, the North Pole, to, Antarctica to escape the zombies?
Santa Claus zombie.
Santa zombie.
No, but you went to Antarctica to escape the zombies. I'm safe. Then a spaceship crashes. And it's the fucking Thing.
This is even worse.
But then you have the Thing versus zombies.
Yes.
So the Thing is just imitating a zombie, so you go to smash the head in, and it just scurries off, fuck.
Ah.
Well, see, after that, that's when you dig a hole to the center of the earth, but then you discover the mole men have come.
Ken Watanabe comes out, let them fight.
Zombie Ken Watanabe.
Let them fight.
We need more shit versus zombies. I mean strippers.
Godzilla versus zombies.
That'd be very easy for Godzilla. You need to fight a...
Not if it's zombie monsters, but imagine him with zombie Mothra.
Zombie
Oh, my love.
But imagine, if there was a swarm of zombies that had populated an entire city, and Godzilla went to attack it, and they wouldn't die.
He just keeps stomping.
He just starts crying. This usually works.
And now a segue back to 28 Days Later. One thing I love about that movie that not a lot of people touch on is it is more or less a remake of all of Romero zombie films with a twist on top that the zombies are infected. Because the end film, when they're at the military compound, is more or less Day of the Dead. And the middle section, when they're like in the apartments, that's more or less Dawn of the Dead. They even have like a scene where they go to a grocery store that's kind of similar to the shopping montage in Dawn of the Dead. So I love the fact that he remade these movies without taking their name, but he still kept as like a loving homage to it and changed everything.
It's a spiritual successor.
It's kind of like, the way you describe it is kind of like what they did with the Hannibal TV series. Like,
I would say so.
Like, they basically took the zombie genre, took the best parts, cherry-picked what they liked, and then made it into its own little thing with a couple of twists. I've never actually seen 28 Days Later. I've always meant to.
Man, it is amazing. I absolutely love 28 Days Later. 28 Weeks Later is good, but it's not the same type of movie.
28 Weeks is, like, it has a really good opening, and then immediately after that, it's just, well, let's do this again.
I'm sad they didn't keep going with that franchise till they just, 28 months later, 28 years later, 28 decades later, 28 centuries later, 28 millennia later.
Oh, we would have gotten our zombies in space.
Yes, finally.
Running
all
space
roads
infected.
lead to space zombies.
It just turns into Dead Space, which I'd be okay with.
Yeah.
We are
When do we
getting
get our Dead Space?
movie.
Wait, when? Now? Question mark? Can it be?
Yes.
Oh, why am I not watching it now?
Because you haven't made it yet, Cody.
Oh, I'll get on that.
Here's a question. What do you think it is about the zombie genre that captures people's imaginations so much and makes it so infinitely flexible? Because I have an idea, which is that it's because it's the only genre where people can just watch other people be horribly murdered and mutilated and not feel bad about it because technically they're not alive.
Yeah, it's kind of like
it's just that sadistic. It's just we hate the human race so much.
Well, I'm just
We
saying,
want to see other people get butchered.
Zombies are totally blameless. Like, they look like people, but there's nothing really left to them. Whereas even in a World War II film, where it's the evil Nazis, you still have to think like, oh man, that guy probably had a wife and kids, or maybe Hitler personally forced him into the army. I don't know his history, but I could assume he might be an okay person besides the Nazi uniform. Whereas with zombies, it's like, no, doesn't matter, that's not a person anymore. I can crush his head with a blender and no one's going to care.
And to kind of add to James's theory, I think it's more the sheer number that usually is associated with zombies, because with vampires, it's like, you don't have a legion of vampires coming after people. You don't have this insane, uncountable army of monster swamp men coming after you. You don't have that with mummies or werewolves or anything like that. With zombies, there's just so many of them that how can you possibly sympathize with them?
Right, you're in the minority. Like, it's everyone against you.
It's like the ultimate persecution complex brought to life.
Yeah. So personally with me, I think it's also a factor, like, to go back to your original question, James, I think what makes zombies such a captivating concept is the fact that it's more intimated. Because, yeah, vampires are also the undead, but this is literally like taking a dead person, a loved one perhaps, and literally giving them half of a life again, and then
There's
making that into a horrifying... Yeah, there is something inherently just evil and sadistic about it.
And there's something, I think, psychologically with humanity where there's like there's a sanctification of death that zombies perverse in a way, and then they comes right back at you. It's the unknown of death coming like right back.
Yeah, like with vampires, you have whenever someone is bitten, usually they turn into a vampire and they're undead. They're said to be undead, but they don't actually die. They morph into something else.
They become assholes.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. But with zombies, it's like, no, this person was buried and had a funeral and was laid to rest, but then that was taken from them.
Yeah, going off of that, Was anyone else really actually kind of disturbed by the ending of Shaun of the Dead? Like, I know it's a comedy beat and the entire movie is fantastic and funny, but still, when you see Ed in the shed, it's like, that part actually kind of freaked me out a little bit the first time I saw it.
I have always had a weird reaction to that scene.
I think it... I mean, what specifically about it do you find disturbing? Just the notion that
he had a character with, like, personality. Yeah, and then it's still Ed. He still treats him as Ed, but it's a zombie version of Ed, so it's basically just him going, and slowly plucking away at a controller. It'd be like if your best friend was in a vehicle accident and became a semi-responsive vegetable, you know? It's one of those things where it's like, I don't know how to deal with this, but it's not the same person anymore.
And the ending does kind of have a bit of a mixed message to it. It's like, I'm literally not going to let go of you after death.
Here's a question. This is for everybody. If the person to your left was turned into a zombie,
I'd kill him. Who's on my left?
Whoever you want.
Okay.
MB's on your left in my Skype call window.
Yep. Sorry, MB.
I always knew it would come to this.
Do you want it now or when you turn?
Well, just let me get to the cave first.
Okay.
I just want a little bit of time in the cave.
I don't know what you're doing in there, but okay.
You know what I'm doing.
You're making your palms itchy.
I don't like this conversation anymore.
Yeah, where were you going with it? What was the rest of it?
Nothing.
Besides, would I murder MB or not?
No, that was it. I was just curious where you'd take it.
Oh, okay.
I did not know there.
The cave.
I did not know there.
If the person to the left of me was a zombie, what else do you do but pick up the nearest object or the nearest blunt instrument and just beat them to death?
Like, would we if I was a zombie, would you still try to record Pulp Nightmare with me?
Who says he hasn't done that already?
I would say that I would try for a test run and do one episode, decide that it wasn't working, take my Xbox 360 and just viciously start bashing it in the head.
That would be an episode 100.
Yeah,
MB would actually remove Mike's head and then save it in his aquarium.
Well, no. I would put it in my Joker shrine. I feel like that's the way Mike would want to be remembered.
Thanks, buddy. But Cody just hit what I would do, which is I would just remove the head of one of you and just stick it on a shelf somewhere and just every day walk by. Hey.
It's like in Dead Alive, there's that one zombie who loses everything from the nose down, and he just gets kicked back and forth across the floor, and he can't do anything because he doesn't have any teeth left to bite.
Well, that relates to what I would do in that situation, which is I would just go full Michonne, just remove the arms and the jaws and just keep you around as my zombie buds.
Would you, feed us things, or would you just let us just walk around starving? Because it would be kind of a hellish existence to be starving but not be able to die.
To be fair,
as a zombie, do you really feel that? I assume it's just kind of a mindless stumbling around.
Oh, it depends. If you're going with Romero zombies, then mindless stumbling around with no real feeling. But if you're going Return of the Living Dead zombies, then you need to feast on human brains to make the pain go away.
That's true, yeah.
No, I would not. I would immediately try to kill you if you were Return of the Living Dead zombies. I don't like the idea of you being verbose after death.
Here's a question, though, James, and this is just for you. What if
We'll have to cover our ears.
Yeah, what if Matt turned into a zombie in the midst of recording Below the Bible Belt?
I would ask him to recite the history of zombies, which he would instinctually know. Sit down and let me tell you about the great zombie war.
That's the Return of the Living Dead zombie you want to keep around.
Similar question, but
dead.
Different tangent. With zombies, it's pretty clear-cut, this guy is going to try and murder me all the time. What if the person to your left was a werewolf? I mean, then you only have to put up with them being a murder psychopath, during the full moon.
Well, see, that would be an entirely different scenario for me because I would just want him to give me the curse because I want to be a werewolf.
You want to be Teen Wolf?
Yeah, I want to be a werewolf. That sounds amazing. The idea, the idea of a werewolf is an entirely victimless crime.
Well,
An entirely blameless crime because you can just be.
MB has never met an angry mob before. You've never even seen the Wolfman. Yeah.
Listen, I was a werewolf. It doesn't count.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry. They all turn around, they put their pitchforks in the ground, and they just leave.
Yeah, I want a werewolf law to be enacted where you can have that as a legitimate defense in a courtroom.
Here's my question. What kind of, what particular werewolf would you be? Like a monstrous werewolf? Like a man wolf? A teen wolf? Like, would you be one who tore people apart and ate them? Or would you be like the strangling werewolf?
The Wolfman.
Yeah.
Like me?
He only strangled people because they couldn't, actually show guts coming out of people.
It's so fucking hilarious to watch that, though. Oh, your neck!
Your neck, I want to just hug it with my hands real hard.
Well, for me, I would want the look of a wolfman, but I would want the actions of a teen wolf.
Well,
I
personally,
would like the look of a Werewolf of London.
Yeah, we get one.
Personally, I would like to be Big Wolf on campus.
Ah,
Go on superhero adventures.
There you go. Actually, he didn't have it bad at all.
Well, the astounding wolfman, I admit, I would want to be him.
With his armor.
Can I be werewolf by night?
Nobody is
Well,
werewolf
by
by
night?
night.
Well, the only thing is that if you're werewolf by night, you have to once every year fight Matt Fuss as Moon Knight.
That sounds fine to me.
I'm not
But you would
seeing
have
the
to go to
dog patch.
Australia, so.
Oh, the spiders. Well, I'll be a
Yeah.
werewolf at that point, so.
Well, but you're still Mike. I mean, it's not like you're going to get over.
Not if I just went as a wolf on a full moon. Like, how mindless, particularly, am I as werewolf by night? Like,
No, I
still
imagine-
fully cognizant, or?
Yeah, well, if you read the comics, Werewolf by Night actually is just the dude with the body of a werewolf.
But
So
wouldn't
he's
I,
just Puma.
wouldn't I be slightly braver as werewolf by night?
Well,
I mean,
you probably
in
have more
most
confidence.
cases- in most cases, probably, but I imagine the spiders would be the one thing that you would never get over.
Yeah, so I would have to be the man wolf then.
what about Wolf Cop? I mean, if you're a Wolf Cop, no one would want to kill you besides the bad guys.
None of us are cool enough to be wolf cop.
I'm not saying we are. This is a hypothetical.
I want to be wolf cop. I want to be wolf cop every goddamn day.
All of us want to be Wolf Cop. Let's not split hairs here.
That's true.
Okay, if you picked Wolfman though, would you want to be OG Wolfman or remake Wolfman?
I want to be sexy remake Wolfman.
But you wouldn't be able to close your mouth.
Well, that's true, but that's a small price to pay for looking admittedly pretty cool.
I
for
honestly
battling
love the
and
design for that movie, except for the mouth. Like, they just never figured out the mouth, so he's just always hanging open. Just, I imagine there was a lot of drool by accident.
As long as I still get to do the Wolfman run. Because, seriously, that is the coolest looking thing in the world.
See, I would still want to go with Werewolf of London just so that Warren Zevon song could play wherever I went. And then I would get to rip the lungs out of Jim, and it'd be fantastic.
I could see you though being totally cursed and you wake up and oh no, I'm American Werewolf in Paris.
You take it back. You take that back.
Okay, well, I think it's gotten to the point where we're talking about werewolves now instead of
A whole different
zombies.
episode.
They're all undead. Wait, no, they're not.
Wait, no. No, you're
Yeah.
vampires, man.
Yeah, I
Let's talk
think
about
They're all
vampires.
hairy.
What kind of vampire would you be?
If you had to pick one kind of vampire to suck your blood.
We all know it would be James Marsters.
I was going to go with Tom Cruise.
We each have
yeah.
our favorite.
Interview with the Vampire, Tom Cruise. Can't go wrong.
I would go with 70s Frank Langella.
I like how we're actually going down this avenue.
I would totally be a 30 Days a Night vampire.
Oh.
Just talking existentially in the cold.
Those vampires, though, those are like the infected to Romero zombies, you know? Like, they're I guess if I really want to continue this to its logical end, Guillermo del Toro vampires are...
The strain vampires are zombies. Very zombie-like.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, the vampires from Blade 2, like, they're vampires, but so far apart from what you expect.
I would say the Reapers each had their own mind still. They're all separate individuals.
Yeah.
Taking it back to zombies real quick, what if there was a Daywalker version of a zombie hunter?
Yes.
Half zombie, half man.
So the only way they can kill you is by crushing your head?
Yes.
The only drawback is I have really bad BO.
This may or may not be the plot of Warm Bodies.
I haven't seen Warm Bodies yet, but I'd like to.
Yeah, it was super cheap on Amazon the other day, and I almost bought it, but the shipping estimate was like, oh, ships in 7 to 30 days. I'm like, no, fuck that. If I can't get it tomorrow, I don't want it.
Warm Bodies is actually kind of brings up an interesting fourth type of zombie, which is the hero zombie.
Mm.
The Kinnison, if you will.
The
Yes.
Kinnison.
Exactly.
It's like the Cadillac of zombies.
Kinnison is his own zombie, I would argue, because I don't see him as a hero, more as a morally gray anti-hero.
Yeah,
He's the Wolverine of zombies.
exactly.
He just wants to know where his cake is.
Don't we all?
Kinnison is totally the old man zombie from Creepshow.
Creepshow zombie. There you go. There's another one.
Alright, now we're splintering too far. This is too much to handle.
Yeah, what? You wrap this up.
Now what about Splinter Zombie? I mean, come on.
Splinter zombie.
Has anyone else seen Splinter? Am I the only one?
I was gonna say, are you talking about the rat from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles?
No. There's a zombie movie, if you want to call it zombie movie, called Splinter, where when you're infected, you start growing like a killer fungus basically takes you over, and you walk like a zombie. You have spines that come out of you that can transfer the zombiness. But there's a little twist, like if someone cuts off your hand will start skittering after other people with little spikes growing out of it to try and infect them.
So they had one special effect that they were really proud of.
It's a low-budget film, but it's really awesome. I love it.
That sounds like a Japanese manga gone horribly wrong.
It's pretty cool.
Japanese zombies.
Have any of you ever seen David Cronenberg's Shivers?
No,
Which is
I
about
haven't.
zombies that just want to fuck you until you die. It's horrifying.
That sounds pretty freaky. Death by Snoo Snoo. Zombie Snoo Snoo.
Have you ever seen the zombie ant?
I've heard about it.
There's like a fungal parasite that will infect an ant, go up into its brain, and then take the ant over and make it act like an ant, like during the day. But then at night it will leave the ant colony, walk a great distance, and then climb up onto like the top of a blade of grass or a leaf or something, and then it will sprout a huge thing from the ant's head, like an antenna, to like spread spores. But it will go to the top of the grass to wait for a cow to find it. Usually it's a cow to then eat the ant, so then it can infect the cow.
That's horrible.
There's a lot of work going on in this. This is a lot of effort.
And then humans eat the cow and they become infected?
It turns into The Last of Us. We all start growing mushrooms out of our faces.
Plant zombies. It's a whole other thing.
No, you're thinking of Plants vs. Zombies.
Oh, yeah, exactly. That's another type of zombie.
That's a good game.
Zombies who are into warfare against anthropomorphic plants.
I just hate those plants so much.
By the way, Plants vs. Zombies Garden Warfare is actually a pretty good game. I have it.
Ah.
Box Office Pulp recommends that game MB just talked about.
Exactly.
Disco zombies.
Keeping the
Box
genre
up.
alive.
Box Office Pulp plays video games to make himself feel good about the horrors he's committed.
Box Office Pulp just reached level 6 in Candy Crush Saga.
Box Office.
Kill Box Office Pulp.
I'm sorry. Someone else go. I can't. I gotta wait for mine to segue more. It'd be too big of a jump.
I like how you put that much thought into it in like the space of seconds.
No pressure now. No pressure. Okay, I'm gonna do
Box
mine
Office
anyways.
Pulp
We're
is
not gonna
waiting
do it
for
on
the joke to
principle now.
continue.
Box Office Pulp wishes he were a Nazi zombie, so someone would kill him without compassion.
We can't beat that one.
That's why I wanted to save it, right? That was fried gold.
Fried gold.
My Shaun of the Dead reference for the night, thank you.
And scene.
Now let's get the fuck out of here. So long, everybody.
Oh, before we do go, though,
James has to do a sad rendition of the gonk.
well, that too, but we also have to pimp out the fine programs on the Pulp Podcast Network.
Damn fine podcasts.
First up, we have Below the Bible Belt, Southern Hospitality, delivered monthly, hosted by James Lewis and Matt Johnson. We have OG, Pulp Nightmare, hosted by myself and Mike Napier.
Good.
We have the Off Panel Podcast, the comic book show where the tensions are high and the ink is fresh, hosted by myself, John Lees, Matt Johnson, Merce Mueller, and Wijabo Killijabab.
Ooh, did you make that name up?
And of course,
I keyed.
And of course, we also have Conjectural Combat, hosted by myself and Matt Johnson.
I believe you're forgetting. Oh, never mind. You've got more.
Okay. Yeah, I have one more, which is the podcast executive produced by Cody Alft. Hercules versus the podcast, where Wise Man Mike tells James the Fool about myths and how to crush them.
It's pretty good stuff, if I do say so myself, even though I'm slightly biased towards it since I do executive produce it. But I only produce things that are fantastic.
And if you want links to all these subscriptions and websites, visit pulppodcastnetwork.wordpress.com. Listening will make the pain of death go away.
And all of these fine shows have their own Facebook pages. Give us a like if you want.
Please. Anyways, I believe that's it for the Box Office Pulp Podcast of the Dead. Thank you for joining us. Have a happy Halloween. Stay spooky.
I've been MB of the Dead.
I have been James of the Dead.
I've been Don of the Mic.
Just gotta be different, don't you son of a bitch?
And he is.
And I've been Pillsbury. James, take us away.
Fox News. Bill O'Reilly.
Wait. Okay. What were you saying there, Cody?
Nothing.
I know, I heard something.
I might have mumbled Fox News and then Bill O'Reilly at certain points.
That's what I thought you did.
Good times.
And like that, he's gone.